You're up.
Good evening. Welcome to the April 14th, 2015 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Mr. Delaney?
Pursuant to the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board here in the Municipal Building, posted on the Township website, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and provided to those requesting notice and making payment in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Mr. Phelan.
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff.
Here.
Mayor Winterfield.
Here. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening, so we'll move right into reports from volunteers. At this time, are there reports or comments from any volunteers serving our community? Frank?
What took you so long, Frank? A little anxious.
Yeah, right?
Jay said we had to be out of here by 8, so. Anyway, Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue, chairman of the Open Space Committee. We had our meeting last night. Actually, we had the first meeting with the new representative from Land Conservancy, Linda Golashensky. Very knowledgeable, actually. A marked improvement from the last representative we had. To cover some of the items that transpired, I think I've mentioned this previously, that there is a grant for putting in trails that Morris County is got some money for, and Linda is working on that. And last night, thanks to Joe Wells bringing the map and kind of filling her in already, she is going to, what we have to do is, it's an 80-20 grant. They provide 80%, we provide 20%. But there's a caveat with that. If we do most of the work, we keep track of the hours, maybe the material that we used. That's all deductible from the 20% that we have to pay. So she's working on a cost factor of how much it's going to cost to actually do this with building kiosks, signage that we have to put in, the open space signs, and also the trail signs.
What trails where?
Well, in the four sections that we already own, we're not including the commercial at this point because we don't have all the easements.
So you're talking along the river?
I'm talking about the Riverwalk.
Okay.
Yes. For those four sections, we will put in, we have kiosk in one of the sections up in Harrison Road, but the others we don't. So that'll be a cost factor that we have to put those in, put signs in. If we're going to mark the trail at all, we have to have signage for that. That's all going to be.
So we do that work and we can get, it's part of the 20% is what we're
Right.
hearing. Right.
Right. So
we could either do it with
as a matter of fact, yeah, I just talked to Bill Pereira today, and I told him that if his guys are going to be involved or we're going to be involved, they're going to have to keep meticulous records because they're like sticklers for every penny that you spend. So we'll get into that if we get and the most money you can get for the grant is like $24,000, but that would cover a lot of costs for whatever we have to do. So she's working on that diligently. And if you've been to the hoedown, you've seen the map that we've had where we want to put boat ramps and kayak entrances and where we want the trails and all that kind of stuff. And Joe has that all documented on a large map that he has. So we went over that pretty thoroughly. So we had to get her some information as to how much does it cost to do a kiosk call. Chris Latito sent me something he found on the web that shows you what kind of lumber you need, the cement that you have to cement them in the ground, and we're also gonna do maybe benches and that kind of stuff, so that's one project she's working on. The other thing we spoke about was easements. The letters have been sent out to all of the people that are on that list that I gave you, which I'll explain a little bit more about that list because it's changed from the original list that I gave you, I don't know how long ago, but in any case.
Who sent the letters out?
Linda.
From the Conservancy?
From the Land
Monterey
Conservancy, right. And what we did was, we included, of course, with the okay of Dave, to include the actual monies that were involved and the block and lot so that they know exactly what we're talking about. Because the original letter didn't have that information in there. It just had that we were interested in buying and getting an easement from you for a particular piece of property, but if the guy lives up in Newfoundland or somewhere, I mean, he knows he's got property here, but,
It should give them a deadline.
right, so we identified that. She sent them out, and I asked her if there was a way that, when she does mail them out, to send them certified mail so that we get, or a return receipt, so that we know whether they got the envelope or not, because we didn't do that last time, and we didn't get answers, and we didn't know whether they received them or not. So that was one of the things that we asked her to do, which she agreed to do. Getting back to the paper that I handed out earlier, which was the cost estimates that we did for the easements. Originally, when I put this list together, there were about 6 of the properties that were less than the $2,000 that you see there. And Linda, talking to a lawyer representative they have up there and also another colleague, they suggested that they really don't know what the cost is going to be for a lawyer to go over the easements and what they're going to charge. Some were like $600, some were like $800, some were $1,200. So they suggested that we make it a $2,000 minimum. Spoke to Dave, and I spoke to Bob Oostdijk, and he agreed that the price was a little bit high, but it would still cover the cost for the people that own the property. If you go down the bottom to 902-12.
Yes, that's the one I was going to ask you.
Well, I'm going to explain that. The first name you see there does not own that property anymore.
It's the second name.
It belongs to the second name. That particular name purchased that with Morris County grant money, which makes it open space.
Right, which I think we talked to them about that.
I have the minutes, thanks to Carol downstairs, on January 24th, 2012, where they agreed that we would have access to that property. So, they can't deny us access because they said here in writing, or they can, but we can hold them to it, I assume. Right, Bob?
I think they said no motorcycles, no four-wheel vehicles, no.
Right,
There were a
but
couple of stipulations.
But pedestrian access for easements like we're looking for, so the original number that we had on there was $6,700 that we were gonna pay the first name. We don't have to pay them that anymore, so we deducted that from the original total, and we added in the small amount that each one of the other ones would bring us up to $2,000, and we're actually pretty much even.
Where you were.
Yeah, so we're not, the $2,000 extra is not really going to cost us that much money. So that was another thing that we discussed last night, and I showed everybody the paper, and that's why I wanted to give you all a copy of this so you have the most updated numbers that we have. I also deducted the square footage from that figure also. Let's see. And actually, it's pretty much all we talked about, those were the two major items, and to me, that's, the first one was, if we get that, we'll be fine. We'll be able to use that monies, and won't have to use any town money or any contributions from anybody, so. Anybody have any questions? If not,
No, it's good work.
I'll take my leave.
Nice to see the project coming. this
Yeah,
way.
you know, it's been a long time coming.
We never thought it'd be this quick, though, with all,
Right.
really.
But, you know, I feel like if we can get those 4 sections open, even though we don't have the commercial, and that's another thing, we're not sure that we're gonna get 100% of those, all those commercial properties anyway. You know, I mean, we're gonna try, and we may not. But at least we have the other sections available for people to use,
Well, I don't
to
think
go
we should just send out
kayaking.
the letters. I mean, we should contact them also, maybe, phone calls.
Well,
As
that's,
we get further down,
yeah,
you know.
Linda's gonna do that, supposedly. The grant has to be in by April 30th, so she's got about 2 weeks to get it together. So hopefully that'll work out. You have something, Dave, you wanna say? Oh, I thought, well, okay.
Hey, Frank,
He's speechless.
Frank, I just have a quick thing for you. When you talk about the 4 areas,
Yes.
just so everybody understands, what are those 4 main
Oh,
areas?
Okay, Harrison Road, which is now completely gone of all houses. North Pequannock Avenue, which is no houses. Pequannock Avenue and Riverside.
Thank you.
Those 4 areas would be available
Access to
for,
North Pequannock Avenue?
pardon me?
Yeah, I know where it is.
On North Pequannock Avenue, there is a gate there now because people were dumping stuff in there, but I think and one of the suggestions that even Joe made was, even if we just move the gate a little bit and make a little parking area on the ride with a fence that they can't drive into the place to dump their cement, because last time they must have had a dump truck full of stones and rocks and dumped it right under the viaduct where the bridge is, so. And Bill had to go and get the backhoe and clean it out, so that's why Dave agreed to move the gate. And we also have a chain on the other side, so they can't come in through the hotel, and there's a big log across the road too, so we're blocking them off, hopefully. Anyway, that's my story. The only other thing, one more thing. Remember I asked that they keep a running chart of, this is for the easements, and this is what Linda's gonna do. She's gonna update this as she goes along with all the information as to whether they made contact, any of the other stuff, and of course, right now, Mr. Ong is on hold, but she's gonna work on that as soon as that clears up a little bit, so. And
That's all good stuff.
that's my report.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Joe has something to say. Oh, Tom?
Yeah, Tom.
Tom Andrea, Chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and also I invite Joe Wells to join me, who's on the Open Space Advisory Board too. I have a handout for everybody, I'm just going to give you now.
Yeah, right?
There's some nice pictures there.
Look at the quality.
Yeah.
I gotta make it look good too, so. Along with Joe Wells, we're going to have a aquatic park, Pompton River, Pequannock River, Rediscovery Day. And what's going to happen on May 2nd, we're going to lead 6 tours down the river.
Walking?
No, kayaking. We're going to use our own kayaks for ourselves, but Parks and Recs has 6 kayaks. They might have a canoe too. They're checking on that. And
They're little.
they're not that little. They should be. I'm gonna test to make sure it works out okay first. Yeah, no, it's kind of like a lake. If you look on the picture, there's a spot on the left with blue lines.
Uh-huh.
And if you look furthest to the left, where it starts, that's the first area Frank was talking about. And that's like a new kayak launching area in town. Yes, Harrison and River Road. And Frank Spizzeri was instrumental in getting that cleared and ready for use.
Look, I went for a walk with Joe Wells through that area.
No, this is nice. This is a nice parking area now, right next to the river. If you have a kayak on your car, you can easily carry it over to the river and get in the river. And starting at that one point, you can do all that blue lines here in Aquatic Park. You can even go all the way easily up to the falls by the CVS in Pompton Lakes.
How do we get over the dam?
If you're starting at Aquatic Park to the falls, there is no dam.
Out by the, going over Jackson Road, there's a...
Yes, that's if you're going south. You'll be going towards Lincoln Park. That's a different way. You can port over that. You know, you just go to this side and carry around it.
We're going to be able to hook onto you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Downstream's easier than upstream.
Right, that's
What?
Wow.
With the water there, hopefully it'll be very little difference between downstream and upstream. You know, the areas I'm going to take people. The blue lines, like I said, are all the different areas you can go to fairly easily. All right, except the check dams you have to port around. Now the picture on the right
That's
with
the more advanced group?
no, the picture on the right is the simpler group.
Put around guard dam too, or?
No, we're not. When we're doing this tour, we're not going near the guard dam. The tour that we're going to lead on May 2nd, the 6 tours, are in red. And that's going to start by Harrison River Road interchange and go down to just before the check dam and then loop back and, you know, take a very scenic route and come back. Then go over the same path for a little bit.
Do I have to pay for this? Because I'd love to.
I don't know what Parks and Rec is going to charge. I didn't discuss that with them, but I think it's going to be very inexpensive. They're not looking to make money on this. They're just looking to get people acquainted with Aquatic Park.
A beginner can do it, though?
I would say so. It's an easy 1 hour. Now, on the schedule, we outline the times of the tours. Then on April 25th, in the morning from 9 to 12 a.m., we're going to have a workshop at Woodland Lake where people who are signed up for the tour can come down and try out the kayaks. Okay, so they can get familiar with it. So on May 2nd, they'll have a much better day.
The water's deeper there, you can drown.
Anybody who wants to be a leader on the tour, Saturday afternoon on the 25th, I'm going to lead a tour through that area going much longer, you know, much more elaborate tour than we're going to do on May 2nd. And then on April 15th, tomorrow, Joe Wells and I are going to be at the library. Joe is going to be mostly talking about the Pequannock River Walk, and I'll be talking about this kayak tour with some pictures about the river.
This is great stuff.
Okay?
Yeah, I really want to do this.
Oh, and if anybody wants to, the main reason I'm here is to invite all of you along if you want to participate in any of this.
Hey, Tom, silly question. Do they
Sure.
have an age requirement for this?
Are we too old?
No, let's talk about.
You mean like kids?
Right.
I think it would be up to the parents' discretion.
Okay.
Parks and Rec might have something, you know, they're going to put it in community pass, so they might do something that way. But, you know, if the parents with them, they're each on a kayak and they're both responsible, I'm good. But if the kid, you know, can't paddle,
We'll be able to swim, too.
right, it would be advisable, but we will have life vests. There'll be life vests too, so.
Very good.
So
You know.
you're going to be surprised. You're going to get quite a few people who are interested.
Yeah.
Good, because this is, you know, the first shot at something like this. You know, we have 6 kayaks, so 6 times 36 people. It's not a huge amount of people, but it's going to be a high-quality experience for 36 people. So,
I
if
like
you're
that.
interested, sign up early.
I love
Joe, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just,
I want the Twilight tour.
After 6 tours, an hour each, I'm going to bed.
By doing the things that we're doing, like having the talk at the library on the 15th, having a sort of checkout day on the 25th and so forth, we're trying to vet some of these things out. The safety's obviously a concern that you would have, as we would. So life jackets, you know, we want to see what kind of people. And the temperature could be an issue, so what kind of clothing. In other words, a little prep work. Both of us are experienced, and we would try to educate those people that are going on it, including if you haven't got the experience, just the kind of clothes to wear that day and so forth and so on.
Bathing suit.
Depends on the
As long as it's
temperature.
warm enough, I'm with you.
There's two temperatures to consider, the water temperature
And
and
the air.
the air temperature, so it can be.
Just like the dog tag.
He's very experienced in cold
Yes.
water.
Well, if you're successful, you don't go in the water, right? If things
No,
go
no.
right, you don't go in the water.
Absolutely.
Yes, you do.
Like
Well, with
you do?
your feet maybe.
Clarify, to launch and retrieve the boat, you're going to have to go in the water. In other words, you can't get in the boat on land and
You have
somehow
to
get
push
it
out.
into the water. So you're gonna have to walk into the water, knees, waist, whatever, so everybody's gonna get wet.
Swimsuit.
Yeah.
You know, not $500 hiking boots and.
Right. so you have to take care of
But a
that.
pair of sandals probably, as long
Well,
as it,
an old pair
Or
of
sneakers,
sneakers,
something like that.
ragwool socks are great. If you're not a kayaker with kayak shoes and all the accoutrements, you could do it very easily with an old pair of sneakers and just cotton is out. You don't wear any cotton clothing when you do kayaking. Synthetic wool. That's it.
It sounds great. Sounds
Good.
great. It sounds exciting. What did you
I-
say? What you called it?
the
High
day.
experience?
High quality.
High quality experience, yes. Yeah, and this tour, starting over by River
It's
and
kind of
Harrison Road, if you notice on that second map with the red lines, you can see how beautiful, thanks to previous councils and administrations and Parks and Rec Department and Open Space, look how beautiful that area is going through Pequannock. You know, you're deep in the woods in Pequannock. I've ridden my kayak over to Pompton Falls, and I've gone all the way to Two Bridges in Lincoln Park, and we have the most beautiful stretch here in Pequannock. You know, it's really beautiful. Going down that section of the river, it's likely you'll see deer in the woods. It's really beautiful. I don't know. I haven't seen those yet.
See
But
snakes? Water snakes?
you're in your kayak, so you don't really see those. Maybe a woodchuck or something like that, but
I don't care about woodchucks.
no snakes. No, I haven't seen any snakes. Turtles, do they?
Okay, yeah.
They're friendly.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for your time.
Snapping turtles.
Yes, Jeff.
Just following up on that, something I brought before the council a couple times before that I'd like to re-involve everybody in it. And that is, as we talk about aquatic park, having aquatic park day, etc., we still don't have an actual entrance to aquatic park. And as the railroad situation has changed and the biped trail is now a federal project, and probably in a multi-year pattern, we're just doing environmental studies for the new right-of-way, which is the center of the rail. I'd like to advise the council, and I would like and ask their permission to pursue an entrance across the tracks for pedestrians to get into the park area. Some of the council members would remember me doing this before.
I remember. When we went for the hike, I remember you talking about that.
Well, I think now because the rail is defunct, before we had a semi-active rail, the railroad has now officially abandoned the track. So I'd like to, we could do it as simply as pull a couple of rails and take some of the roadbed away and make it a very safe way to walk.
With
into the
permission
park.
from somebody.
Yeah, two things that have to be done. One, with the DOT no longer, in a defunct railroad, the DOT really isn't involved anymore once it's abandoned. The railroad still has right-of-ways there. They have an underground and overhead rail and pipeline right-of-way. So, but I'm also on the Morris County Board of Transportation, and in talking to the people there, the railroad would seem to be amenable, but I would have wanted to ask you before I pursue that if the council's in favor of that.
I don't see why.
I don't see why not. Is that something that you would do from?
Yeah,
Morris County?
I did it a couple of times, but we didn't have a good active partner in the railroad.
Right, I remember
And
that.
so we've had our ups and downs in that specific area going back,
Calm down.
for many years. But anyway, as long as the council's amenable, I'm going to pursue that for it.
No.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. Rocco?
Rocco Salucci, Chairman of Fair Housing. Just have one question. I'm sorry that we lost a dear friend that was helping us out on the fair housing. However, I want to find out if the council had made any arrangements to get somebody else hired to help us out with the enforcement of the violations.
Yeah, we just, within the past week, we've hired a replacement for that position.
Okay, and it'll be doing basically the same as DEX. I thank you very much.
Anyone else? Volunteers? Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comments. The public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Alberta?
Good evening, Alberta Oliva, 75 West Parkway. Dave, I have a question. Is all the paperwork in place so that if our water is bad, we can go to Lincoln Park and swim? Is all that paperwork signed?
PV Park,
PV Park.
What did I say?
water.
Oh,
I was
I'm
thinking
sorry.
drinking water.
Yeah. No, the water at PV Park, if it isn't able to be used, do we have the paperwork signed and in place so we can go to Lincoln Park?
It is not, and the reason why is each of the last 2 years we've had some issues with our with the swim lane platforms. They had severely heaved last year, and we did a temporary fix. We were actually at the point about this time last year where we weren't even sure we were going to be able to use them, so that we were in the position of potentially looking for another facility to use for the swim team, which was going to be a much more comprehensive agreement with some other community, whether it be Lincoln Park or someplace else.
No, I'm talking about
No,
people that go there every day to swim.
No, I understand.
Okay.
It was going to be easier to kind of incorporate everything into a single agreement. Lincoln Park makes the most sense.
Are you going to get that in place for us?
We're working on it, and the swim lane issue we're still trying to resolve to finality so that we can, be assured that they're going to work now and in the future.
Okay, thank you. I have a concern, and I've thought about this for quite a few years now. Kathy and I had the opportunity to have a conversation with a senior citizen, and we have a beautiful senior citizen house that is not used by our senior citizens. We don't provide anything for our senior citizens, and there's a great many of them that go to Bloomingdale, and they are served a hot lunch every day for $1.25. I have all the paperwork, upcoming programs. There's a monthly meeting for members, the menu, upcoming community events. And why don't we do something for our seniors? There's nothing for men in this town. You can go to the senior house and you can play canasta or bridge. Those are your choices. Why don't we do anything for the senior citizens, the men and the women?
Well, there is a senior advisory.
I'm
and
sorry?
There's a senior advisory, and I guess, Melissa, is there any kind of, they're not having a meeting, I guess, until May?
What, the regular senior advisory?
Yeah,
meeting?
they had one recently?
They actually had a meeting, the first one they had this year was in April. It was this month.
Who was the they, Melissa?
I'm sorry. There is a senior advisory board and something called DISC, which is I never remember what that stands for, but that's what does that stand for? Anybody know?
Drop-in Senior Center.
Drop-in Senior Center, and it has they go through on a monthly basis and put all the programs in place that are going on in the senior house, whether all the events,
Trips or whatever.
trips,
Things like that.
canasta, if there's a Valentine's Day dance or lunch.
The woman we were speaking with on Saturday,
Yeah.
and she's pretty active there. she's not knowledgeable of any of that, right, Kathy?
Yeah, I'm confused because there's a lot that goes on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know my mother even goes down to.
And
the
I know
senior
Parks
house.
and Rec actually sat in on their meeting on
And does what?
April, in
There's
April.
certain programs, she goes down to the senior house.
Well,
So I know there's programs going on.
Yeah, there's programs going there all
I
the time.
Dave has
Do you-
something to add.
Okay.
Just historically, from the time Senior House was first built, the program part of it was to be self-directed by the group of seniors,
right,
consisting of two parts. What is now referred to as DISC, which was the senior organization. They had their own membership. They were a separate nonprofit entity. I don't know, back in the 70s, nonprofit was a lot more loose in terms of formation. And then the municipality had the Senior Advisory Committee, which was, the committee that advised council on policy and things like that. Those two organizations working together were to provide the direction and the programs for seniors throughout the community, using Senior House as the primary base of operations. That's how it was set up, and I know that a lot of historical knowledge has been lost over the past 5 or 6 years, just because of
right.
time
I hear
will
you.
time. So if the current setup is no longer working, or maybe there needs to be a better understanding of the original intent, and maybe people do have a will and just don't know that they have kind of some authority and free will to kind of put those things together. But if that concept's not working anymore, I mean, we're certainly open to changing it through an advisory type thing, which is kind of what senior advisory is supposed to be doing,
Right.
working with recreation to, we'll put on whatever programs. I do want to circle back to the food thing, the meals at Butler
No,
is-
Bloomingdale.
and Bloomingdale. Butler does it also.
Oh, I don't know.
Is a county-sponsored program, and it's based on income eligibility that Pequannock Township does not meet.
It's
That's
ridiculous.
It is subsidized in Bloomingdale, and that's Passaic County, by the county.
It's block grant eligibility.
Okay.
But it seems to me that.
You know what I think, Alberta? I think the May meeting, do you know when the May date is? I saw.
Yeah, they
website.
meet in the morning at like 10:30 during the week. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, if some new seniors would go,
You know
and
what the
maybe
problem-
breathe some life into
yeah,
it.
well, we did have 3. If you remember, we did have a lot of new members that put their applications in, but it wasn't until they realized that there was vacancies after the first of the year, and the council went appoint. So I said to them, you can still go to the meetings until we appoint again. Why don't you come to one of the meetings? Yeah, I
Well,
can.
I don't know when the
I'll let
meetings
you know
are.
when
I'd
it-
be
well,
very
here we have
happy to
the-
go.
Melissa will
I'll
See,
give it to
it's during the week, it's during the day.
Is there anyone that wants to see what Bloomingdale has? Anybody want this?
I know
or
what
not?
they do, because I
Yeah,
haven't it.
we're actually familiar with.
You know what,
Yeah,
should I go make copies?
Let's-
Jay, are you gonna make copies?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, the other thing is, I want to put this up for our senior citizens. These are trips that are very, very good. It's a very well, and you know Rick, Dave. You know Rick, you've worked with Rick. And, well, he knows you, the two of you work together. I'm taking 56 people to Princeton tomorrow. The buses are good, the facilities are great, we're having lunch, and it's all seniors on the bus. And I want to put this up on the bulletin board in the senior house. Now, who do I go to get permission to do that?
Is it a commercial advertisement? It's the basic.
Is it commercial?
Is it open to anybody?
What?
Is it open, is it just the seniors?
Anybody and everybody. Oh, there are people that bring their grandchildren. No, it's not just seniors.
It's not just a senior
What's
trip.
the cost, Alberta?
It varies.
So it's a commercial, right?
Who's the operator of the tour?
bus?
Is it a
I don't drive the bus.
Is it a nonprofit?
I can't answer for Rick, I don't know.
Well, I would think the seniors, I mean, I don't speak for the advisory, I've never been to one of their meetings, but they would offer whatever to whoever. I think
But
it'd be a-
Pequannock did work with Rick. I was the escort on the trip, that's how I met Rick. I was the escort for Pequannock when we went to,
I
thought
thought
they-
you could go to
I
the
thought they
advisory
still
meeting,
did
but I
bus
think you
trips,
should go.
The,
Yeah.
go ahead.
yes, the township used to either sponsor or co-sponsor trips.
Right.
And we've reduced those because the number of Pequannock participants that we were getting was falling. We ended up, we did do a lot of joint trips with, we did some with Kinlaw and some with Wayne. But we got to the point where we weren't filling buses even with two communities, and part of the reason is there are alternate providers for these.
Well, I don't know.
And, you know, when we're starting to compete, you know, it's not our intent to compete with commercial enterprise who can make money
So
at
I
doing
can't
this.
put these on the bulletin board.
If it's an ad for a commercial enterprise,
It's not an ad, it's a brochure.
That's an
Or
ad.
you're gonna call it an ad? Whatever.
Well, there's other
if-
things
if-
for Parks and Rec.
if
they
they're a
wanna see the
profit-making
advisory.
company, who,
I don't know if he makes profit. I
can
don't
I
know
see
his
it? I mean,
business.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll take a
If
look at it
If it's
because of the-
non-profit, we'll put it up.
How do you know if it's profit or not?
Right.
Well, I don't know if he makes money, I don't ask him.
You could be losing money, right, Alberta?
I don't think so.
Well, you can make money as a non-profit, it doesn't
It
mean,
probably is.
yeah.
Alberta, I just wanted to say something. The Senior Citizens Advisory Committee meets, I'm looking at the wrong page, I'll tell you who's on the committee too.
Bring up the rock.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's okay. They meet the first Tuesday of every month at 10:30
Where?
at the senior house.
First Tuesday?
Of every month at the senior house.
You should go when you
And
can.
I always get a call reminding me when they're having the meeting, so there was an issue where they, because of weather or whatever, they didn't have it the first 2 months, but they did have one this month, and I got a call on that, so I'll make sure you know.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Frank? Sharon?
Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. I thought Rudy would be here tonight, but I'd like to publicly thank all of the volunteers that came out last Saturday for mayor cleanup. I thought they did a pretty good job, and I think every year we get a little bit less and less of debris that we have to pick up, like no oil tanks or any of that kind of stuff, you know, until,
It floats.
God forbid, the next, right. So just want to say thank you to everybody.
I think there were, when I left there were, the last count was 77 volunteers.
Yeah,
That was really nice.
so that was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon? Sharon's next, Rocco. Okay.
I just think it.
Then you're next.
Good evening, Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township.
Is this new?
I just want to first point the kayaking idea. That's very good. You know, a few years ago, when I was on Lake Champlain for vacation, that was the first time I ever kayaked. And before that, I lost an extreme amount of weight. So for me to get in a kayak and do that, I can't tell you what a fun experience that is. And you could go for hours and not even realize it, you know? The only thing I just wanted to add in is you may want to not just promote about safety with vests, but you want to, in case if that boat, like, you know, if the kayak tips over, like how to get yourself out of it. And then I think at a certain age, make sure kids don't go alone in that water, especially kayaking, because if they're not experienced, so I don't want to hear any catastrophe. Secondly, oh, you know, it's really funny. I went for a walk during, I work in Saddlebrook, and I was on my campus at work, and I saw a Pequannock disposal truck. And I said, you come here? He's like, we're all over. So it was good to see Pequannock Disposal of Pompton Plains in Saddlebrook, New Jersey. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, the truck he had Pompton Plains. So it was actually pretty cool, you know.
I gotta talk to that guy, Pequannock.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. In Saddlebrook, no less. Saddlebrook, right? There's a lot of history in Saddlebrook, too. My next, just a question with the farmer's market. I I haven't heard anything about it. Are they doing it this year or?
There's some things they're working on.
Okay.
Unlikely that it's going to be a township-sponsored market in 2015. We were unable to come to agreement on the parking lot in sufficient time to plan it. There is going to be a farmer's market on Beaverbrook Road, which is not associated with the township, but some of the vendors that you're familiar with would be there. Since then, we have come to agreement with the church, and we're hoping that in 2016 we can bring it back.
Which church?
The First Reformed. They own the parking lot.
So they won't let us do it this year?
Well, they were
It's not that they wouldn't, they were asking for a fee that was going to make it not financially feasible.
They want a fee for using a parking lot. And we give a lot of money into this township. And that church wants money for a farmer's market. No comment? Okay.
Those are the facts.
And that's a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, right, there you go.
I never heard of a church asking for fees when all the fruits and vegetables grown from the ground we walk on is a gift from God and they want money for a good service. Not good. So are we going to be promoting the Beaverbrook Farmers Market through Pequannock website though?
No, it's not town
It's not a
sponsored.
township-sponsored function.
It's been on Facebook already. It's going to be a joint venture, I think, between Pequannock and Lincoln Park people.
Okay.
And they're going to have things that we're not allowed here. They're going to have wine tasting and different things. It's going to be a little bit bigger.
We hope.
Yeah. Who knows? It rained all last year.
Hopefully, well,
Yeah.
hope for 2016 they bring something new into town here, you know, but next time the church wants a favor, you can charge them. I just find it funny because we, you know, it is a town event. It had a lot of good responses on it. So it's just a shame that it's not going to be held this
Well, I
year.
think it's still a little rough with the road, which will be a question later on. When is the turnpike going to be paved?
Yeah. I
Because
know.
until all that's done, it's tough bringing people through here anyway. I think
Okay.
that was a hindrance too.
Okay. And then just lastly, you know, Sunday was a beautiful day. So I decided, I got a puppy. She's 8 months old. Actually, I have to leave in a few minutes.
That was
but
our one day of spring, that's it?
Yeah, she graduates from her puppy class tonight, so I gotta make sure I'm there on time. But so I decided I wanted to take a walk, and I took her to Greenview Park, and there's a lot of people using the park. It was really nice, kids, families, and then get to the point where we get to the pond, and there's this elderly woman sitting there, and I look at her, and the first thing I do is I went, ew. That's what went through my mind. It's all mud, and it's never even been refilled yet. So
Well,
I asked the woman, I said, what do you think about this? She goes, well, I hope they do something about it soon.
That's not true. It was refilled, and it was filled until 2 weeks ago when the water leaked out.
Oh, the water leaked out on it. Okay, because that's the first time I went up there since the last year.
It seemed to be holding fine for the past 5 or 6 months, and
Until
then
the ice melted.
yeah,
We did-
and
How did it leak out?
No, we
Just
didn't.
give
How can it leak
information
out?
how
It's a man-made pond, right? So is there lining or something in it?
Well, we
It was all
replaced the
there.
lining last year
Oh, I didn't, okay.
It was all brand new.
with a material that is supposed to bind together over time to be, form a impervious surface. We're not exactly sure at this point why it began to leak, whether it was an issue of, the severe winter that caused it to crack in certain areas, or whether, someone may have walked through it, or the turtles may be boring to lay their eggs, or we're not
okay.
quite sure what the issue is. We will attempt to repair and, add more of the material, which is self-binding after a couple of months to repair it.
Maybe there
We're
wasn't
aware
enough
of it,
time.
and
you know?
It really just happened 2 weeks ago.
It was beautiful last year when they finished it.
Of course, and the day I go to take my puppy up there, it
Well.
doesn't work out. But, so if the lining does rip, do we have any kind
Well, it's
of,
not a rip.
or if it leaked,
It's a clay-like material
okay,
that you put in as a powder. It finds its own surface, and after being wet and sitting for a couple months, it forms like I said, an impervious surface. But if it's breached, and it's a very shallow pond, so, I mean, even a dog running through it is going to cause holes in the bottom, which will then cause water to leak right through it, because the ground is very
or
porous.
like the deer, I think there's a lot of deer there too.
That could be too.
It would be unusual for a deer to actually be in the pond unless they're ill, and I think we would have got a call on that. But,
Oh, okay.
uh,
It would, you know what, it'd be nice, it's like the Boy Scouts on like even the borderline at like getting boulder rocks around it, and then who's the guy that works that did the
Rain garden?
rain garden? Thank you, Stacy. The rain garden at Pequannock. It'd be great to get the Boy Scouts to do something
well,
with the pond and.
Joe Golden, who's our engineer, has actually been kind of the project manager there. And the plan was to do, ring most of the area in a plant border to keep geese from
Yeah, there's.
going in and out, and to keep small kids from wandering in and doing exactly that kind of damage.
Yeah.
So, except for a couple areas where, along by the new dock, there will be some type of border, decorative border around it, and we're going to include some some plants and trees in it that will encourage fish that will eat mosquitoes.
That's really nice.
I'm sure they'll put
I
gravel
think
in.
it'll look nice. I was just surprised by it. I didn't
It was
even know
brand
it
new.
leaked.
It was all brand new last
It was funny though. You had to see it. It was just like, and the woman's sitting there looking at dirt, and I'm like, I felt bad, you know.
Yeah.
But also the walkway that's in between. Are we getting new macadam on that too?
That's
Or-
in the budget for.
Oh, it is.
It's in the capital budget. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because that barbecue area, they cleaned that up, the Boy Scouts, and then I think there's like that bocce ball thing. Just have them redo something over there. I think it'd be good. So put a nice fountain in the middle of the pond. Maybe get some koi fish or something. And
Next time
it's
you
not in the
make,
budget.
tell the lady that we're
That's not in
fixing
the
it.
budget, right? That's it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Rocco?
See you next meeting.
Okay.
Take
Good luck with your puppy.
Oh, we go.
Her puppy's graduating school.
Okay, thank you. Rocco Salucci, 153 Jacksonville Road. You mean that the thing that we're talking about right now is not even 2 years old and you have major problems with it?
Things happen.
Does it carry, usually when that happens over there, it's a certain warranty that you have. You call the guy back and say, excuse me, unless the guy gave you guys a 50-50 warranty, 50 minutes or 50 feet, whichever came first, after you got the check.
They're on top of it. It just happened.
I understand that, but at least that we hold the people responsible that they did the job. It should last more than a year. That's the only concern that I have. I am reading the budget. I guess you guys did a budget presentation. I'm sorry that I missed it.
The next council meeting is the,
Next council meeting.
yeah.
And you're talking about a 3.5% increase?
It's not 3.5%,
3%.
3%?
2.99. But we'll be
Okay,
talking about that
3%.
next council.
As a senior myself, I like to remind you guys, and I'm not for myself, thank God I can still afford the taxes in Pequannock. But there's still a lot of seniors over here that they're hurting. So a little restraint. I did the same thing at the Board of Education, but I think that we need a new method to communicate over there. They don't understand either Italian or English. We gotta try a different language. So I hope that somebody's got at least a sense of responsibility to say, okay, let's cut down and see what we could do. I know you guys tried, and I was very proud. In the past, you did a fantastic job. But to have this much going up all in one shot. And I know that it's not much compared to the increase that we're going to get from the Board of Education, okay, because that's the bulk. And I keep saying to people, if there's anything should be done, you gotta go over there and you gotta shake the trees over there. Those guys are spending money that we don't have. So, you know, just a little plea. And to counter the question that I asked before that Dave answered, would it be possible whoever you hire to help us out on the fair housing, to have it present at the next meeting so it could be introduced properly and maybe explain, you know, what entails and whatnot, because we're getting ready to send out all the questionnaires and everything.
Yeah, obviously he's just getting his feet wet and he has a lot to catch up on. Without knowing his schedule, I can't commit to your next meeting, but
How about the following, maybe?
at some point, perhaps I can get him together with you if I can't work it out for a meeting. I'll get you.
I have no problem with that. The only thing, people that they know me, I usually don't do things by myself, by my own.
I understand.
I try to incorporate other people in it and feel like that they part of the team. So if there's any possible way at all, I mean, the questionnaires are going to be going out maybe another, I hope another 3 or 4 weeks with the new person that you hired. Maybe they could help our secretary to send out all those notice. I forget, we got a huge amount, so at least if it doesn't do anything else, help us send out the notice, because enforcement is not going to take place at least another couple of months. And until then, we hopefully that we can sit down and explain, you know, more or less what needs to be done. He probably knows already, but...
He's already aware of the process.
Okay.
If possible, I will absolutely get him to a meeting. I cannot commit to
Okay.
that tonight.
Well, I'm only asking if you can, it would be greatly appreciated.
We will get him together with you and members of your committee shortly.
I appreciate it. Jesus, you see, Mike, this is what happened with the seniors. You had another train of thought, though, you lost the train and you forgot the thought. But anyhow, I thank you.
You'll have to remember the meeting with
If
him.
I remember it at the next one, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. There being no additional public comments, we'll continue with the agenda. Next on the agenda, public hearing on ordinance number 2015-03. Mr. Delaney?
Yes, Mayor, this is ordinance number 2015-03, entitled An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 219, entitled Food Establishments and Food and Beverage Machine Retail of the Code of the Township of Pequannock. This ordinance was introduced to the March 24th meeting, has been published and posted, and is scheduled for a hearing at this time.
Thank you. Any comments from council? No. We've talked about this a lot. Okay. Anyone from the audience have any questions on the ordinance 2015-03?
Do we have to open it to public comment? Or?
It's a public hearing.
Kathy, you have one.
Oh,
I just have one
yes,
question.
come to the microphone. And just state your name and address.
Tammy Henry, Sunset Valley Golf Course, so it's 47 West Sunset. I'm not sure exactly, I read the document that was presented to us. What exactly is the placard?
It's the same placard that you will already receive indicating your inspection.
From the
Status.
satisfactory or not?
Right, it's just changing the location of posting.
Okay.
So it's
Just
more
wanted to
visible
make
for-
sure
for
that
people.
I was on the same page, so I had it in the right spot. Thank you.
Nothing drastic, thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2015-3.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Our next public hearing is ordinance 2015-04. Mr. Delaney?
Yes, this is entitled Ordinance to Exceed the Municipal Budget Appropriation Limits and to Establish a Cap Bank pursuant to NJSA 40A:45.14 for the year 2015. Again, this ordinance was introduced at the last meeting on March 24th, has been published and posted, and is scheduled for a hearing at this time.
Do you want to give a little brief explanation for the public?
Sure. This ordinance is under one of two statutory caps that our budget is subject to. This is the appropriation cap. The appropriation cap is published every year as a percentage based on inflation rate. The statute provides the authority to exceed that inflation rate up to 3.5% with an ordinance. The ordinance also provides the ability to bank unused cap. Without the ordinance, you cannot bank unused cap, and the banking really just provides flexibility from year to year as costs change, so that you are not tied to a predefined definitive number, and the budget can be changed to meet whatever the needs are, whether they're greater or lesser. In a year like last year, where the budget really didn't go up at all and no cap is used, you bank that and you can then use it in the following year. Just by way of a memo, that cap expires after 2 years. We have a very large amount expiring this year, and we haven't actually used any of our banked cap in the past 6 years. So we do this just as a solid budget planning tool, not with the intent of actually having large increases in the future, just so that we can plan for the future.
Okay. Is there anyone from the audience who has questions on or comments on this ordinance? Rocco?
Rocco Salucek. Am I to understand that you're using the gap, that's a way to carry over? In other words, if you don't use the 2% that you're allowed, then, and you only use 1%, you can carry over the 1% for the following year, and the following year you could raise the taxes 3% instead of the regular 2% that the governor put in place.
This is not the 2% cap.
So which is it?
There are 2 statutory caps. The 2% is on the tax levy. There's a cap on the appropriation as well. There are 2 caps that we have to be compliant with. That cap changes every year.
So it's not a stationary 2% that they have?
No.
Okay.
It's based on a published
index.
That inflation rate changes, and over the past 4 or 5 years, the published cap rate has been anywhere from 0.5%
right
to 2.5%.
Okay. All right. It's understood now. Thank you.
Same we do every year, Rocco.
I understand that, but I wanted to be clear. Is it above the 2%? Now they explained that it's got 2 different ones over here. Now I can understand.
No, it only happens once a year, so it's okay to review it. That's good.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff,
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield.
Yes. Next on the agenda, ordinance for introduction. There are no ordinance for introduction. Resolutions for approval.
The following resolutions are scheduled for consideration by the council at this time. Resolution R 2015-83, adopting an extended 2015 temporary budget. Resolution 84, authorizing the execution of an agreement with Teamsters Local Union Number 469. Resolution 85, authorizing the reinstatement of a special sewer assessment payment plan. Resolution 86, confirming a lien for costs incurred in the demolition of a fire-destroyed structure on Block 3711, Lot 6, also known as 84 Pequannock Avenue, and that is a revised resolution from the initially distributed agenda. And Resolution number 87, approving the payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the, what was the April 9th, 2015 bill list. And again, the bill list was revised and now carries a date of April 10th.
Okay. Are there any comments from council on any of the resolutions?
No.
No?
Good.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2015-83 through 2015-87.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff,
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield.
Yes. Next on the agenda, items for discussion. Dave?
Okay, the proposed zoning amendments, at a previous meeting, I think it was the last meeting, there was under reports and notices, a request from a local property owner, business owner, to make some changes to our zoning ordinance, and I had requested an opportunity to review the request and have staff look at it, because I really hadn't had an opportunity to get all of staff's comments. So in your packet is a memo from Jill Hartman, our planner, who was already aware of the request, and is making a recommendation that we do make a modification to our industrial zone zoning to include uses such as wrestling, batting cages, weightlifting, fitness centers, dance, gymnastics, and other indoor sport types uses. Part of the reasoning is that the zoning board has granted applications for waivers to zoning because it's not currently included. So these uses currently exist, they've been approved, and they do seem like a compatible use for most of our industrial zones. Our thinking is that by including this, we're making, retasking some of the industrial areas to make them more useful and give the owners perhaps more opportunity to generate tenants and clients. And environmentally, for an industrial zone, they're very low impact. So, the planning department, engineering is recommending in favor of this. So, depending on how you feel, the next step would be to draft an ordinance, making modifications. You would introduce it. It would be referred to planning board.
That's the question I had.
For their review and recommendations.
Right, I don't see anything wrong with this. In fact, this is a good thing for these areas. Help business owners over there. It's not, this already is happening in this area.
Right.
It's not like it's not happening.
Dave and Melissa, you have any comment one way or another?
No, I was just going to say I could see adding it. It's probably, nowadays you probably have more of these requests than you would have when these
When the ordinance was originally made.
were put in, so.
Right.
Whereabouts exactly is
The
this?
request is coming from a property owner in Alexander,
Okay.
but it would apply throughout the industrial zones. I
And
think
that would
there's other
be,
ones.
There are already a couple from,
Industrial road
waiver uses
Yep.
on West Parkway.
In West Parkway.
is that in I-1
Yeah.
there?
I won.
They have the gymnastics there, right.
Industrial road too.
And industrial road, correct.
Right, so it's already happening in the town.
They
We're
just figured
just-
maybe.
Right, we're just taking it so that they don't have to go to the Board of Adjustment.
Well, the only question I have is about, and we'll see the ordinance, how the wording is, because the last bullet says other specialty indoor sports. Are they all indoor? Because the batting cages kind of concern me that that's not indoor.
So it would all be indoor.
It would be, so,
All of this
so
would
yeah, I
be
think,
for indoor use.
yeah, so I think you have to clarify that. Because when I see batting cages, I'm thinking that can be out too. That could be outdoors. So we're meaning indoors.
Yes.
So I would just word it that it's indoor batting cages. That's the only comment I had. No, I don't have any problem with it. I think it's a good
Okay.
idea.
The other recommendation that's included in this memo is a change to cantilevering. Cantilevering is currently permitted, but more restrictive than what we're requesting. And you can read our reasoning here. It provides in the floodplain where you are severely restricted from the amount of coverage, and depending on the flood zone status, may not be permitted to increase the ground coverage at all. It provides an opportunity for a homeowner to do improvements to their home going up, and providing a little more flexibility than we currently have under our existing ordinance.
I've no problem with that one.
I don't know.
Back to the I-1, my suggestion would be, we're gonna change it, make it a conditional use. Parking for these facilities is a lot different than the industrial. So to have no review of it, I think would be wrong.
You want
Who's
it,
going to review it?
you want it
It's
conditional?
conditional, will go to the planning board.
Or do you just want to increase the parking requirement for this section?
Well,
Yeah, that's essentially
it's
what
all
you're saying.
pre-existing sites, that's the issue. As I mentioned before, on Industrial Road, there's an issue. You got 2 sports facilities in there now, and a lot of empty space, and virtually all the parking is gone.
So what's the difference between the Board of Adjustment hearing it or the Planning Board hearing it?
None.
So why would you change it if you just push it?
Well, you're
That's
not,
not true,
you're not,
it's not a use
it's,
variance.
it's not use
You make it a
variance,
permitted.
so it's an easier.
Can I, I'll include that recommendation
Yeah, I would say
Go-
conditional,
going back,
take away the
can-
use variance, which makes it
Can we
easy.
let the planning board deal with the particulars of how they
Sure.
want that set up?
Well, Joe will have some thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda is manager's report. Dave, you have a huge report.
Actually, the bulk of it is the updated project status report, which I'm not going to go through line by line. You can read that at your leisure. There, because we've been 5 weeks, there has been quite a few updates to that in terms of status. Presentation of the walkable communities and turnpike traffic calming project will be made at our next meeting, April 28th. Regarding the sewer project, paving in the village area is completed up to date, and a section of Sunset received an additional skim coat to improve the riding surface. Route 23 crossing at Village Road is complete, and directional drilling along Route 23 business corridor is about to commence. The PV Park sewer line is complete with the pump station, although it is not connected and won't be till the end of the year because we need the large village pump station in operation before we can flow any sewage. We have received a request for an additional extension of the sewer line along the turnpike to finish out the business district. Just got that really today. So I'm gathering some additional information. I'll be back to you with some particulars on that to see how or if you want to proceed with it. We're working with Lincoln Park, Palm Lakes, Riverdale, and Butler to address concerns with proposed flood insurance rate maps. We've also been in contact with Wayne, and they're interested in being involved as well. Initial contacts have been made to reps of FEMA and DEP. We're going to see if we can hopefully get some changes made before the proposed flood insurance rate maps are officially presented, because that kind of starts a time frame of appeal. If we can get the changes made before that, I think it's going to be a lot easier. So that's really our primary focus at this point.
Do you have any update on, I hate to press you, but
Paving on the
yes.
turnpike.
Exactly.
The weather's only broken for
Like 2 days.
2 weeks. The first thing I really need to get done, and I just had a construction meeting today, I need to finalize the punch list there are a couple storm grates that need to be replaced. Any curbing that needs to be done needs to be replaced before we do the final paving. Joe and I'm going to reach out to the county. We have to do it to their specifications anyway. We're going to reach back out to them to see if they'd be willing to provide us some funding, since we saved them the cost of doing that before we started digging. We don't have a commitment for funding at this point, but I want to see if I can get some before we actually go out. So we're working on those two items. By our next meeting, I'll have a
better answer. But it's
a game plan, but I need to accomplish those two things before I can actually put a timetable.
It's not gonna happen before Memorial Day.
no.
No, it will not happen.
Can we do any patchwork, in the big craters? So nobody breaks their ankle?
Exactly.
Yes, they do.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave,
Believe it.
are we still
Yes,
going
yes.
to be drilling underneath another part of 23?
Yes,
Yeah.
at Jackson.
So it's wrapping up by village.
Just the one at Village is done.
And when do you expect that drilling to start on Jackson?
Mid to late May. It's the same company, it's two different,
So they're not just moving their equipment from one street down to the other?
no, it's two different methods of installing pipe. The drilling that went under Route 23 and the directional drilling that's being used along the business district, but it's the same company that's doing it. So they started at that one location. They're using the same pit in Village Road to go across 23, and now they're using that for the directional drilling going north. So they're going to start doing directional drilling, then they'll move up and they'll do the same thing at Jackson Ave, where they go across 23 and then they'll go south from there in the same pit. But the time frame they gave us today for Jackson Ave was mid to late May.
So the paving on Sunset will be,
July
is
or
that all
August.
tied?
The paving on Sunset is our road.
Right,
Since we're doing the section of Sunset from Boulevard to West Parkway as part of a
and the sidewalks
state
and all that
aid,
stuff, right. That's general.
we anticipate doing the mill and pave of the rest of Sunset at the same time. So
Okay.
it's a continuous.
Summer project. Summer
I
project.
think that will happen this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
summer.
this will happen probably this summer.
July and August.
Oh, it's definitely settled enough. The set of, conventional wisdom is you want to wait a year after digging that deep. The one good part about the winter is that severe frost,
Moved it down.
compacted the material as best as we're gonna get it, so.
Probably down to our pond.
And
We're agreeing to it.
have we heard anything back from the high school about possibility of changing that entrance before we start our work?
Did they give us any input back?
I haven't received input back. I asked them to contact Joe. Joe's working on plans, and we'll contact them one more time to make sure that there isn't anything they're considering before
They should.
finalize.
They should take us up on it.
They should consider that.
It's a safety
Why
issue.
we're doing it.
Yeah, we'll reach them one more time. Okay. Next on the agenda is council reports. Councilman Cole?
Parks and Rec met on April 6th. There was a number of things that we talked about. Fair housing, Rocco, I think the fair housing unit owner forms were mailed out on April 11th and they're due back on May 11th. There were some minor changes to the forms that we did this year to help possibly get the forms back more quickly than they have been. So we're hoping that, according to Gail, they were mailed out on April 11th. So that's it.
Okay. Councilman Florence Lynch?
Okay. All I have, Dave, I just wanted to ask you one thing. We've talked a little bit about having another shred day, and I know you had to wait again to talk to the church for the parking lot. Are we still waiting on that for dates?
I didn't have a chance to ask that question today. I'll get back to them.
Because, if we have to push it out, because I think I gave you some dates in late May, and if that's not going to happen, I don't know. We might have to push it out unless it's possible. All right. All I have is that my flood meeting is rescheduled to Tuesday, April 21st, because a lot of the members weren't going to be available. So that's 7:30, and that's really all I have.
Okay. Councilman Phelan?
Dave, the first aid squad raised a concern about the dispatching that's going on lately.
Microphone?
Substandard, to say the least.
Mike, I can't hear you, Mike.
The dispatching that's being done now for the first aid and fire company has not been 100%.
I'm familiar with a couple of issues that they're referring to.
Okay.
And it was a result of, new personnel and training.
Yes, I
who
know
are
that.
now primarily dispatchers.
Yes, and I know that. I can tell you the number too.
They have to know how to use the desk. They don't have to be completely proficient.
Right.
Everyone gets to make the beginner mistakes.
Right. Okay. I'm just bringing that concern to you.
Believe me, I've heard.
Okay, that's it.
Is there anything on the sewer authority or anything going on there? Anything's come?
That's quiet.
Okay.
They're not raising rates if that's what you're referring
Yeah,
to.
that's what I'm referring to. All right, Councilman Vanderhoff?
Everything's really quiet. Company 2 is in their fund drive. So far, pretty good results, so we'll continue for another 2 months, but that's about it.
Anything about their, the wet down, any date?
We got
Second week in October?
next second.
Oh, is it gonna be in the fall?
It's gonna be fall.
Okay.
Where coats or net with that?
Down there.
Well, you never know, I think the weather is changing, the patterns are changing.
Patterns are changing, okay.
Any location on that yet, Dave?
It's gonna be at the firehouse, like they did for the rescue.
Okay. But no date, we don't know the date yet.
They did pick a date, I just don't have it. I'm pretty sure it's the second.
Second week.
When's
It
the
was
truck
cold.
being
It
delivered?
was,
August 19th is still the scheduled delivery date.
So figure September 19th? Or do you think they'll be on time?
No, they seem to be on time.
Okay. I don't have anything. So next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized. Come to the microphone, provide your name and address for the record. Alberta?
Alberta Olivas, 75 West Parkway. I just have a suggestion, question. How about if we advertise the senior meetings the first Tuesday of every month at 10:30? And can we have it on the marquee for the May meeting?
I think that'd be a good.
And have it on Channel 77? Maybe these people don't know.
Right.
I mean, you know, you can't go to something if you're not knowledgeable.
I think that's a great idea.
All right, can we have it on the marquee?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for, you know, like a couple of weeks prior?
At least
How about a couple days?
I'm sorry?
How about a couple days?
Spread the word.
Like 7 days. Like 7 days ahead.
Gosh, if I only had an electronic sign there.
Oh,
Do you agree? Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's a great idea.
I honestly think unless you are knowledgeable of a meeting,
You don't
you're
know.
not, you don't go. And 10:30 in the morning is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And the senior house. And can we have it on Channel 77 as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you.
Alberta, I was just gonna say,
Yes.
bring
your friend
up
Rocco.
here. I was just gonna say, there's probably no there's no reason why we can't do it, but just like any other committee meeting, it's an open meeting, so anybody can come, but it is that advisory board meeting that we're talking about, not that other seniors can't
No,
come.
the advisory meeting.
But it's just like having your environmental commission meeting or your,
But
you know.
anybody can come to our meetings.
Correct.
They can, and
Right.
they should. People
Right,
should.
but same with this, I mean, it is on the website or it should be.
But some people.
But you're right.
Especially seniors.
And we do
Especially
want,
seniors.
and
Some
especially
people
if you want to
don't
get
use a
more.
computer.
Right, and especially if you want to get more input and new members, it's a good idea,
Yeah,
so.
we can put it in the trends too, can't we?
if you-
Or that's money, I
I'm talking to
forgot.
Joe.
That's curse word.
But yeah, we'll work on that. Oh.
No, I think it's a good idea to breathe some new, fresh air
Thank
into
you.
it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Rocco?
Geez, I'm getting old, I can't get out that fast that I used to.
Okay. Rocco Solution, 153 Jacksonville Road. I have a question or a comment concerning the property that we have over there. It's my understanding that we pay $1 for the use of the property that belongs to the church. However, if I remember correctly, we are footing all the expenses of taking care of it, snow removal and everything else. And it's my understanding that we should have at least a say-so to help us out to use, especially for an event that's got to do with the town, you know, like...
It's a touchy thing.
I don't think it'd be too touchy if you tell them that you're gonna annex the property,
You're correct.
okay, which you have the right to do it, so,
You're correct on the first two items. We have a lease, which provides for $1 a year.
right.
And the township, under the lease, is responsible for maintenance, snow plowing, striping,
And if I remember, for use of the
But there's
property
another
to the
problem.
town,
But there's another,
As the tenant, the only permitted use we have is as a parking lot. So to use it for anything else requires permission of the landlord.
my honest opinion, I think that, and believe me, I'm all for any churches that they do a great thing for the town, okay? I think to deny something that it's good for both.
they didn't deny it. They wanted to.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, I wasn't there, so I didn't quite get it, but I was trying to read between the lines, so
Well, to
I
tell you the
I got a little
truth,
touchy
Rocco,
about
I
it.
think the church is very generous as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for what they do with floods
Oh,
and all that.
like I said, that I'm not trying to pick on any churches, because a lot of churches, they do a lot of good in town.
Rocco.
But I think for the amount of money that the town spends to take care of the parking that we have out there, and don't forget, I know that we have use of parking and whatnot too, but if we had it the other way around, and I'm not suggesting for a minute, we do have the power of eminent domain that you could,
Again, Rocco, the church does a lot of good things for us, okay? Let's leave it.
I know, I heard it twice already,
Thank you.
you know, Rich, I heard it twice, in all honesty, I'm not here criticizing anybody, but I think that from their point of view, they should be at least a little more
They
cooperative.
did
That's the only
that,
thing I
and we
say.
weren't prepared. One thing I have to say for my personal opinion about it, the farmer's market, over when we had it by Foothills, which was nicer than here.
I agree with you. I'm not even saying that that was a great idea.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Only thing that I'm saying that when it comes out to events that the town is involved, I think there should be cooperation both sides. And I didn't really say that. Farmers market is a farmers market where you could have it almost anywhere that you have accessibility to get in and out quickly. And in some town over here, there was a restriction, more of a problem than anything else, the way I saw it.
Yeah.
When you had the vendors there and they took over the rest of the parking, you basically didn't have any place to go. So I'm not condemned or, say that that was a great thing. All I'm saying is that the cooperation between the town and the church should be a little bit
Rocco,
more.
the only other thing I was going to say is the other thing we always have to make sure, and the reason we always have to ask the church too, like just, when I brought up for Shred Day, we have to make sure there's not weddings that day.
I could agree with you more. And like I said, this is not the argument that I'm bringing here, whether this is right or not. Only thing that I am thinking about is that at least there should be a little more cooperation. And I said this here 3 times, and I'm fully aware that the great service that all the churches they do in the town. Okay, don't forget, all the people that belong to the churches, they're town people, they pay taxes. For one, I know about that. TV programs. Who's in charge of putting the programs on 7/7? I asked in 3 different places and I'm getting 3 different answers. I want to get to the bottom of it.
Should be able to do it here.
Okay, who? I need somebody who's responsible because I'm getting the runaround. The school board, they said, well, we give the tapes. That's not a responsibility. You come over here and say, well, they don't give us the tape. So somebody's bouncing me around, and let me tell you, the one thing that you don't want to do with me is try to come after me. So, what's the answers?
The TV station is ours. It's our license. In terms of responsibility as township manager, I'm the responsible party. In terms of operations, Channel 77 is operated between both Peter and Diane are both capable of putting things on. Peter's the administrator. Diane does most of the slides, the text type things. So,
whose decision is it, the stuff that goes on there?
We put on anything that we can legally put on, because we can't have commercial advertising.
Okay,
I think Rocco wants to know why aren't the Board of Ed meetings on?
Well, the question that I asked the Board of Ed is that they were showing meetings from last year. I said, well, we give them the tape to the town. They're the one that's responsible. So now in public, and I hope you're taking this, and maybe we'll get the show on our TV, which I haven't seen too many programs on this case here. If that's the case over here, I want to get to the bottom. Whose responsibility and who's dropping the ball?
Well, I don't know who's dropping the ball.
Okay.
To see if we're getting them.
If the board has provided them, I don't know who they're providing them to. If they were provided to Peter, they'd be on.
Okay.
We'll check into it, Rocco.
Now, 2 things.
I can have Peter follow up.
Can you do that, please? Okay.
The personnel who are in charge of AV, media, and the school system has changed several times in the past couple years.
But the guy who was taking the video is responsible over there is the same guy. I talked to him. I said, what's going on? He said, well, we make the tape available to the town. I was in town over here and I asked a couple questions. He says, oh no, they don't give us the tape. So here in public, I'm trying to find out to get to the bottom of it because it's a disservice. If you have the equipment and you don't use it, what's the sense doing over there? I don't want to be watching meetings that took place in last December.
Rocco, we'll find out. I promise you, I will.
I'll follow up. I don't know.
And also another thing too, what is the reason that some of the meetings here in town, they're not on anymore? Is there a compatibility problem that we have or?
There is, we can't directly download the format that is recorded to the player that is associated. And
Didn't they give us brand new equipment, one of the agreement that we had a year and a half ago? You gave us the money, so we didn't.
Rocco, when I used to tape, I used to bring it home.
Right.
And then time converting it to a DVD on my computer.
Okay.
I'd have to load it into my computer, then load it into.
I know it's done. I have the program, so there's no problem. I know exactly what's involved.
So you can't just take that camera and plug it in.
I understand. You have a tape, you play the tape, it goes through the computer on a hard drive and you record it. I can understand.
And then
So-
convert it to a DVD.
Webpage, though.
To a DVD, I'm sorry. Is there any way at all that you could buy that adapter so they could do it over here in town?
We have
It's $67, the adapter, on any computer, as long as you have a player. You can use the same camera that you're recording to play, as long as you have a wire that you go right into the computer with the program on it, you could do that.
it's.
I used to be in the electronic business, that's how I made my money, so.
The player that broadcasts to
Okay,
to Cablevision requires a very specific file format. The file has to be converted. The conversion process for this it takes a lot of time and has to be manually manipulated. So we're working on it. We're trying to find an easier way.
so what I heard now is that, because Rich used to do it, it got done, and it took time out of his thing to do it, right? And now that we don't have the equipment, and it's tough.
So we have the equipment.
Yeah, it's got to need the time and the conversion to be done, right?
Is it something you just let run and just have to watch it? Is that what it is?
I'll talk to Peter. He's the one who's got
I tell you, I wouldn't even bring this thing up because a lot of times I'm down the shore, so I don't even get the year this year. But I am sick and tired of having seniors and some people calling me home. Well, I'm never sick and tired to listen to people saying things to me, but they complaining to me like I have something to do with this year. Well, you know, what's going on? I don't know.
It's a
And I'm
legitimate-
trying to get to the bottom. It's already 2 months. I can get a straight answer.
But because we know that's time consuming and we want to get the
Okay,
information.
on the
it is on the
township
website.
time, I can understand over there. As long as you try to work and see what you need, maybe you can spend, I don't know, $200 or $300 or
The
$500.
council meetings, though, are on the webpage, right on the front, you can click. But we will work on this, Rocco, we will.
Kathy, with all due respect, not everybody has a
Seniors.
computer, not everybody has a way to get on there. That's the only reason that I'm saying this here. And it'd be very easy that people have not Comcast, I'm sorry, Cablevision. They go over there, they put on 77, they're still watching the same thing. And then you have problem, people can't hear, it's too good, people mumbling and all stuff like that.
Okay,
So at least to make some of that information available in town.
point taken.
That's what you spend the money for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one short question, I almost forgot, I took my glasses off.
3 minutes are up.
The 2015-84, is that an agreement that you signed with a union?
Yes, that's the.
Okay.
yeah.
Can you at least, are you allowed to say which union is it? I mean,
So, Public Works Union.
Yeah, the Public Works.
Department of Public Works, they're Teamsters.
okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? We're good to go. Mike?
I disagree with Rocco about getting.
No, you gotta come up here, you can't do that.
Mike Machino, 10 B Street. I disagree with Rocco about getting the video on TV, so whatever you guys got to do to get that done, I think it would be a good service. Thank you.
Thank you.
I figure what?
Okay.
It's not worth it?
No, I said I agree.
Next on the agenda is executive session. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.